Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I want to introduce you. You guys, Nicolle and Wade from Greenlight, are going to be launching today's eQMS on Medtech with Greenlight Guru. I want to remind, I always want to tell everybody at the beginning why we do this. It was initially intended just to be for my organization because we had so many clients coming and wanting to know about all the new solutions out there. And then I realized, why keep it to just us? Let's just make it open so that people got a safe place to learn more about all these wonderful eQMS solutions, ask questions. So there's a chat line. You guys can drop questions and I'll field them to Wade, and we'll also have a section at the end where we'll cover questions, and we'll drop a couple polls in there to just help us understand who's in the room. So when Wade does his demo, that he can target the appropriate content. Get a little background. I'm Nicolle from Cannon Quality Group, and our focus is to bring real-world sustainable solutions to anybody who needs a quality solution. And we do that through being an outsourced quality department and guide people, or actually do all the work for them. We like to name ourselves the change in quality because we like to bring a more collaborative business focus and team focus to the organization. We work with over 200 companies worldwide and help them navigate the regulations and the quality requirements, and really love helping organizations take the fear and burden out of quality. On that note, I'm going to hand it on over to you, Wade.
Thank you. Yeah, so Greenlight Guru, I guess the reason you guys are here, it is an eQMS solution. So we actually like to think of ourselves even more than an eQMS solution. You'll hear about that as I go through some of these slides here. We call ourselves a medical device success platform, since it's more than just an eQMS software that we provide. Myself, I am a medical device guru at Greenlight Guru, so a pretty funny title, but essentially means I came from the medical device industry as well. Worked in there about 10 years before coming to Greenlight, been here 2 years, and I work on our customer success team to help our customers with best practices in the software and best practices in the med device industry as well. So I will start jumping into a little bit about Greenlight here. With Greenlight, as I mentioned, it's more than just that software. It is a full industry-focused solution. So we are built specifically for medical device. I believe we are the only solution out there built specifically for medical device. So we don't work with any of the other any other industries out there, just medical device solutions. And that's really why we came about, is to accelerate that market, accelerate the opportunities for people to get their products to market quicker.
On that note, I'm gonna drop our first poll, and just to understand on the device people, where are you in the product life cycle of your device? Go for it. I'll just let it come in while you're rolling.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. So with Greenlight, this is just a little bit about us here. So as I mentioned, over on the top left, you see some of those green numbers there. That's some of the content that we have out there for everyone in the industry. Some of you guys, probably a lot of you, if you've been in the industry for a little while, you've seen our articles, our blog articles online when you're searching for help in the medical device industry. You may even listen to our podcast with John Spear, our founder, and you can see over on the right side too, a lot of good recommendations that we get from different people, third-party review sites. So feel free to check those out as well. G2 Crowd is a very common one for our industry. You can check that out. And then here, we are trusted by medical device companies all around the world. So you can see we're in 50 different countries around the world. That map kind of shows where we're at. We've been getting a lot of Australian customers, which for our customer success team makes it difficult with the time zones, but we are all over the world and can help you get your product to market all over the world as well. And on our website, there's a bunch of good case studies too. If you want to hear more about other people's experiences, there's some just quotes from those over on the right side, but feel free to check out our website, greenlight.guru, and you can see some of those case studies as well. Then here, as I mentioned, we are more than just software. So we are an industry-specific platform. It is an out-of-the-box solution. So we are able to complete the validation for you. As most of you guys, I'm sure, know, if you're using an eQMS platform, you have to validate that, and that can take months to complete that validation. So we take that burden on for you with every release. We complete the validation since we are industry-specific and we can set our product up to be specific for medical device companies. We don't have to worry about configuring it for each customer. It's built for all medical device companies.
I do love that about when I do get a chance to work in your platform that you guys validate it and you also just you release it, you store it, it's all there. I don't have to do anything. I know where it is. I can go grab it. It's very easy on the user side. I'm going to drop one of our other polls, which is where you guys place yourselves on the digital maturity schedule. Seems like a good time to get a sense of that. Thank you all for chiming in on the polls. It helps us cater the demo for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, just looking at the first poll, looks like people are in that feasibility stage, which is the majority of our customers that we see as well. So yeah, it seems like we have a good fit. This demo should be very applicable that we go through today. So just a little bit more here on this side. So you can see the blue, we do have dedicated industry expertise. So not only myself and people on our team that we call ourselves gurus, but we also have a full medical device partner ecosystem, which includes Canon and many other partners that can help you throughout your whole product life cycle. So anything you need help with, we will have a partner to help you. And a lot of times there's additional benefits that go along with that. And then over on the orange part there, the customer community, we're really building this out more and more where not only do we have that blog content, but we have a job board now specific for the medical device industry. We have all that content. We started a Greenlight Guru Academy where you can get certifications through there and learn all about the different aspects of medical devices. So then getting into our product a little bit before we jump into the demo, this will be the last slide. Promise I'm not trying to bore you here, just trying to give an overview. We'll get into the demo in just a second. With this here, starting with the orange up in the top right, this is just an overview of the different workspaces in our system. So you're going to have document management. That's where you'll be able to get your electronic signatures into the system, approve those documents through a Part 11 compliant e-signature process. And then we have change management built right into that, where you'll be able to complete your change orders, complete that evaluation, pull those documents into change orders there. You can have multiple documents in a change order, of course. And then training management, moving into the purple, we have training management where you'll be able to complete your training. All your users will be able to complete their training, and it will auto track those training records and training logs for you within there. And then the quality processes as well, CAPA, customer feedback, non-conformance. We'll go through those. It's going to walk you through those, and that's fully traceable to all of the other sections of your system. So that's one of the neat things about our system is your full QMS is within there, so everything is traceable. Getting over into the green, this is really probably our biggest differentiator in the medical device industry is this green section here, the multi-level design controls and risk management. So you'll build out your design control traceability matrix within Greenlight, link that to your risk matrix that's built out to 14971 to take that risk-based approach to design, and we auto-generate that DHF for you. So we'll definitely spend some time in there. You'll get to see that. And then finally in the blue section, this is getting into the intelligent document management that we have in there. We have built-in AI, and with that interconnectivity, we have a tool called Visualize, which I'll show you today, that can show you how everything's connected in your quality system to help
I
you
can
with those
personally
change orders.
really geek out on that section. When I discovered it, I was like, I could just spend hours with that. It kind of cracks me up.
Yeah, I know. That's one of the things that I wish I would have had back when I was in the industry.
Right,
So.
right. We're gonna move into the demo. Is that right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna drop the last poll, which is what's your priority in an eQMS solution?
Awesome.
That'll help us also just again get a sense. Thank you all for answering the polls. It's helpful for Wade's demo.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'll share my screen as these new polls are coming in. So yeah, it looks like there's quite a bit of options there, and everyone's has something a little bit different. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. We can get into the software. Okay. And to confirm, can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so what we're looking at here, first thing to notice, it is a cloud-based platform, so you'll be able to access it from any modern browser. Every customer gets their own unique URL, and they'll be able to invite users into their environment within there. You also get a test environment along with your production environment, so you can practice and learn inside of your test environment as well. With this, what we're looking at here is the dashboard. This is going to be unique to each individual right when they log in. Kind of gives them a highlight of what they should be focusing on at that time. So you can see I have one document that's awaiting my review, no change orders that are awaiting my review. I'm doing good there, but I'm not doing so well with training. I have 7 here, trainings to complete, and it's red because they're overdue. So it's making it very obvious here right when I log in what I need to be working on. You can also see the tasks that have been assigned to you, and then favorite documents, recent projects, and people, as you assign roles to people and they have more permissions within the system, they'll be able to see some of this additional information. I have all the roles in this system, so I can see how many open change orders there are, how many change orders are routing, how many documents are routing, as well as some post-market stuff of how many open CAPAs, audits, non-conformances, and customer feedback is open right
And
now as
I
well.
can't remember, is this dashboard configurable by role or is it,
Yeah,
how's
by
that?
role. Yep,
Mhm.
exactly. So what roles you have will determine which kind of squares show
What
up
comes
here
up?
in this, yeah, in this dash. But everyone will have these top 3 in the tasks.
We have one question that seems to a good time from Erica asking, is this system a PLM?
It is not a PLM. It does have some functionality that a PLM would have, but it is not equivalent to a PLM. Yeah, good question. So getting into the workspaces then, where all this data on our dashboard is coming in from, here's these workspaces that I talked through that are all built into Greenlight. We'll go through each of those. I'll cover them each at a high level here. So just starting with documents, this is going to be your document repository. So this is where you're going to store all those documents. You're going to maintain their version within here. Greenlight keeps track of the version control for you. Apply metadata to those to help you organize your documents within here. You can see these filters of which ones are awaiting review or which ones have been published, things like that. So pretty standard document list here that you can organize. But getting into the fun stuff within documents, I'll go into this circuit board. I was an electrical engineer back in the day, so apologies for any electrical examples today. Um, but actually, I went through that pretty quick. But you can see here that this is published at version 4 within here. And then I checked it out. I had the permission to be able to check this out. I checked it out and opened up a draft of version 5. So now I'm working on version 5. We're going to get that eventually approved through a change order. With that, as I mentioned, I had permission to do that. So Greenlight is a full permission-based system. You get to decide for every document, every project, who has access to it and what level of access are they going to have. So what this allows you to do is not only internally decide who's going to be able to edit this, but you can decide, you can invite in external users, suppliers, and contract manufacturers and consultants and things like that, and decide, I only want them to see these 5 documents. I don't want them to see any other documents. So really collaborative and allows you to set up the permissions within there. Within a document, for a document itself, you can upload any file type into Greenlight. It's file type agnostic, so you can upload Word, Excel, PowerPoint, as well as zip folders and CAD files and step files, really whatever you want into the system. And one of the neat things with that is if you're uploading a Word document, Excel document, we generate a PDF automatically for you. The system will generate a PDF from that so that you don't have to also upload a PDF in
Yeah,
that
key.
instance.
So big.
Definitely. And that PDF is what's going to get that electronic signature page automatically
Mhm.
appended on to the end of it, that version history page automatically appended on to the end of it. And you'll be able to keep track of the full file history within the system for all of your documents, where you can look at those previous versions and look at the editable file that you put in, whatever that source file was, as well as the PDF that was generated there. And beyond that file history, we're going to go even more detailed, and we're going to show you the full activity history for each of your documents, each of your items within the system, where you'll be able to see every action that's taken. Even if someone views this document, it's going to tell you that. You can see here we have 103 pages of actions. So what I like about this is you can filter this down, and if you wanted to see the last person that changed anything on here, you could filter it down by that. And if you wanted to filter it down by user, you could do that as well. So if I wanted to see if Andrew was in here changing my document, I could go look at what Andrew's doing. I doubt he has. Otherwise, good. Yeah, he hasn't. So, but you can use this to, stalk your users and stuff. It is part of the Part 11 compliance that we have to maintain the audit trail, but it can be really helpful as well, especially as a
see
person in there.
if you as you're trying to collaborate to see if anyone's have actually really looked at it. Yeah,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
We have one question. I don't know if you want to save this one for later, but is there a plan to implement electronic forms and custom workflows for DHR, LHR types in the future with Greenlight?
Yeah, good question. So not sure on the timing with that, but that is in the plan to be able to do that in the future. Not only like forms and things like that, but they do want to add inline editing, where you'll be able to edit within the system and not have to upload and download your documents in order to change them. So yeah, a lot of neat functionality around that area coming here, but I don't know the dates on any of that
Stay
stuff,
tuned.
unfortunately.
Trailer things to come.
Yep, exactly. But that's actually one of my favorite things about Greenlight, and I think probably one of the most overlooked things is that since we are an out-of-the-box solution and we complete the validation for you, we can continuously update and add improvements in there, and you and the customers all get those improvements every time. So it's not like they have to revalidate or we have to set up configuration each time or anything like that. So really allows us to just keep making a better and better product, and can really take the feedback we get and add to our system here. So yeah, awesome. So that is documents here. And then this document currently is in a change order. So we can start talking about change orders. That's the next workflow here, workspace here is change orders. This is just going to be a list of your open change orders. I can go to that just, I guess, to show you that right here. I was just searching for one earlier. But this is going to be your list of open change orders. You can look at completed change orders, of course, and canceled ones. But I'll go back to that example that we were looking at before here with that document.
And that was actually an interesting nugget. So looking at that, I saw that there was audit findings. So all records are routed as in the change order system with Greenlight.
Yeah. Anytime you're changing anything. So if there were audit findings and you had to change some of your documents, those documents would route through that change order process.
So what about like the audit report? Was that also something
that's going to be in the audit workspace? Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that will be auto-generated for you as you go through that audit. So yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, great question. So jumping into a change order then, continuing on with our example and using the change order that this circuit board is a part of, you can see here, when you add in your change order, you'll give it a title, description, justification, all that standard stuff. Within the change order, you'll also be able to complete an evaluation. So you'll go through here and answer these industry standard questions. Is the product impacted? If so, is verification validation required? Are processes impacted? Is risk affected? Are regulatory updates required? So you'll go through those. If you say no, you'll provide rationale for no. If you say yes, you can provide additional detail here. So that's where you'll complete your evaluation. You can also, if you have your own evaluation form that you like to use, you can continue to use that change evaluation form and upload your own completed form within here as well.
That makes me think, I know in Greenlight you have a couple of different ways of signing up, right? And is this feature on all levels of?
Yes, this is on all levels. So yeah, we have different pricing and packaging, and
where you don't need to use all of it, and then you can grow, which is really nice.
Exactly. Yep, and that's a great question too. I just kind of a high level overview with that. Documents change and projects are going to be in everyone's. That's essential to get you bootstrapped and going. And then the rest of the workspaces are in that next level up the way we have it set up now, where you'll get those set of workspaces when you move up. So we grow with you. And then
Yeah.
as you grow even more, you can add on the intelligent document management and visualization here that we'll get to at the end, which is really neat stuff. So
That's good.
uh,
That when I think about, we have a lot of people in the feasibility world, those first three is a good starting place. Get the right hygiene going, and then as they grow, depending, I mean, all of them are gonna have different timing. They can add.
yeah, exactly. Yep. You can add it when you need it. Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So then once you've completed your evaluation, of course, I just want to show you the documents tab here where
Mhm.
you'll be able to add multiple documents to a change order. So if we're changing our circuit board and because of that, we had to change our LCD screen and membrane switch, we can update those all through one change order. With the routing then, this is where you're going to set up and you're going to decide who needs to sign off on this change order, what order are they signing off as, fully customizable. You can set up parallel and sequential tracks here, what role they're signing off as. And then as the author kicks off this routing, they're going to get email notifications when it's their turn to sign off. With that email notification, they'll have a direct link to this change order. They'll go through it. They'll be able to approve or reject. And once everyone has approved, then document control, I should say, will be able to publish this change order, which will publish the new versions of those documents. And you can set any effective date that you want for that. So if you want to leave a couple weeks to do training before those become effective or something like that, you can set future effective dates as well.
And if you wanted to know, like if this would go to a supplier and wanted to notify them, is that another step, or how does that?
Yeah, good question. So if they are in your system, you can
Hmm.
notify them. So that would be, you
Okay,
could add them as a light user and
great.
let them know that this has been published. But if, they're not a part of you haven't invited them in here, then yeah, that would be another step where
Okay.
you would, send something out to them.
Before you leave that, are you going to talk about that exciting colored circle with recommendations? And I'm going to mute myself because I'm.
Yeah, no worries. I was actually going to come back to that at the end once we saw the whole platform and
Okay.
then talk about visualize and the recommendations because I think it kind of pulls it all together then. But yeah, don't let me forget about that. If I get to the end and haven't talked about that, I'll cut other stuff out because that's some really exciting stuff there. So yeah, great point. Um, Continuing on here, training of course is really important. We won't go through this much. It's pretty straightforward once you see it. So with training, you'll set up training events where you'll say what documents need to be trained on, who needs to train on those documents, what method are they going to train on. And then as they go through and complete their training, so I can go to my training here and see this one's in progress. I did training on these two here. Once they complete their training within here, I'm 100% done with this one. The documents will all populate then. You'll get a training record automatically built out for you. So I could go in here to SOP 7, for example, go to this training tab, and I'd be able to see everyone that has trained on this document, what version they trained on, and the date they completed their training or whether they're overdue. And then you can, of course, print this off. So when the auditor asks for the training record for SOP 7, you can come in here and print off that training record. And then same thing for each user. You'll be able to click on any user and see what documents they've trained on, what version, the training event, and what date they completed that training. So that's the training workspace. Pretty straightforward, really easy to use within there, and it ties directly into those documents that you have in your system. And same thing with all of that, it's going to have email notifications built into it. So everyone knows that they have to do training and all of that good stuff. So moving on to the projects workspace here, this is,
Oh,
like
wait,
I
hold on.
said,
We have
this
a
is really,
training question that's hot off the presses here. Is
oh,
there a high level
let's do it.
reporting for training that would be useful for management review that would equal compliance by department over time?
Yeah, good question. So at this time, we don't have the training analytics built into the system. So you can see here we have analytics, but that's actually coming, I believe from what I've heard in 2022, is we're going to advance the training workspace. And that's one of the things that they're looking to add is more analytics to help you there. And they would add it to our analytics section. But yeah, great question. Awesome. So going into the projects workspace then, as I mentioned, projects is really probably the thing that differentiates us the most. And that's really why our founder, John Spear, started Greenlight, is because he was a product development engineer. And there was really nothing out there to help you build your design control and risk and tie those two
Mm-hmm.
together in a seamless way and then auto generate that DHF, because we all know that takes a lot of time at the end of your project to pull that together. So this will auto generate your DHF. And then the project is tied to all of your other workspaces as well. So the documents that you're pulling into this project, those records that you're going through, all of the post-market activity is traceable to this project. So that's really the seamless integration of your projects, your development into the rest of your QMS is really what this workspace does. So starting out here, I'll just go into this generic project that has electrical, mechanical, and software in it. And with a project, just like with documents, you'll be able to decide who has access to this project, what level of access are they going to have. And within the project itself, there's going to be two primary places you'll work: design control matrix, that's going to be your traceability matrix, and right alongside of that, your risk matrix, which is built out to ISO 14971, and you'll tie those two together. So we'll jump right in, go into the design control traceability matrix here. And with this, just looking at the column headers along the top, you can see that we're built out to ISO 13485, as well as Part 820 with the FDA. So what you'll do is you'll put in your user needs into here, and you'll actually add them right into the system. And then you'll add in your design inputs, start linking those two together to say, here's the design requirements, those functional requirements that came from these user needs, these user requirements. So creating that traceability early on. And what I really like about the requirements management aspect of this is that you don't need those separate user requirement specs and marketing requirement specs, product requirements documents, things like that. You don't need those anymore because you're putting your requirements directly in the system, and then you'll get those signed off through the design review process, which we'll touch on in just a bit. But you'll actually get those approved right here within the system, and it auto generates a record of that approval to show you where those requirements are when you approve
Nice.
them. Moving forward
You know, I'm
here,
going to ask about the
we
pink and the
have,
green, right, at some point.
yeah. Oh yeah, 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 absolutely. You got to ask about those bright visual things. So yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. Um, but yeah, just continuing forward with the design outputs here. So with those, you'll put in whatever your design is, link that to the design inputs that they are meeting. With the design outputs, typically those are going to be like a tile that points to your record, because you'll actually have a record that is your design output. It's going to be your drawing, your material specification, your manufacturing work instruction, your PCB schematic,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. So we built into all of these tiles, you'll be able to add related items. So this is where you're going to link to the documents that are in your document management system that you've added in, gotten approved and signed off through document management, change management, and you'll link them in here as related items to this design output, and they'll show up on this little paperclip icon, and that's going to be an active link to that document, so that you can see here, we were brought to that wireframe document that we clicked on.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's where not only are you getting traceability between your inputs and outputs and verifications and validation, or verifications and inputs, but you're also getting that traceability to your document management system from here as well.
Okay, we
So
have
then
two
with, oh
questions.
yeah,
Actually, one. When you change the user requirement based on project feedback, does it flag all the risks, design input, design verification that's tied to it?
yeah, great question. So it's not going to flag it in the way that it's like, going to turn it bright red or anything like that, but it does show you that full traceability. And so you'll be able to see what risks are associated
Okay.
with that. And so when you're going through your design review, and I'll show you that design review in a second, when you go to approve that user need again, you'll be able to see it's going to show you all the risks associated with that. You'll be able to see all the design inputs that are linked to that user need. So it's going to show you all of that in the system, and that's part of the due diligence of the design review process built into there, is that you'll be able to see all that stuff, and as part of that review, you'll assess the impact of it. and then approve or reject that change in the user
Okay,
need
so
as
it's
required.
like you kind of got to go into each item and like look at it, look how it's connected, right? Yeah, still have to be
Yeah.
engaged in it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly. But yeah, great question again there. With the verifications, then we're going to link our verifications to our design inputs. And with those, that's where you'll link to that test protocol and test report that you've put into document management, gotten signed off through there. You can link many to one to many, as you can see all the way across this matrix. The linking is very easy to do. You can see here when I open up this verification, I can see that it's testing these 3 design inputs, but I can also see what it's not linked to. And if I wanted to, say, well, actually, it's also testing design input 10 here as well, I could link it to design input 10. It's going to show up that way in the matrix. So very easy to create that linking in the system. Much easier than trying to manipulate
Right,
Excel or anything like that. That's what I had to do in my
right.
past. So
Oh
it was a
man.
nightmare. But
Yep. And then when they
yeah, it
separate
makes it
them into
really
different
easy.
documents and okay.
Oh yeah. That makes
Yeah.
it tough. And yeah, that's really, I think, what makes it so nice is this is your source of truth. Everything else links
Mm-hmm.
into here. So. And with to answer that question you had earlier about the green and the red
Yeah.
here, or green and the pink here, is that what you'll be able to do with these verifications and validations is you'll be able to change the status to passed, failed, or not
Oh, okay.
tested based off of a drop down here. So it becomes a little bit of a project
Nice.
management visual
Yeah.
tool you can use where as you're scrolling through, you'll be able to see,
We
which
still need to
ones haven't
address.
been tested
Okay.
yet or have
And
passed.
is the
Yep.
pink mean they haven't passed? So okay.
Yep, that would
The
be failed. If
gentle.
you mark it as failed, it'll. Yeah, we didn't want to
Right.
go too bright
Right.
red, I
Right. Right.
think. But yeah, absolutely. And then very similar with validations. Validations will link to your user needs. Of course, taking that V model approach here, the link to your user needs. You'll attach those test protocols and test reports for your validations within here, and then you can mark those as passed, not tested, and failed as well. So before we get into then talking about design reviews and how we're going to sign these off, I did want to show you that you can break down this matrix into more manageable subsections. So rather than having one giant matrix where complex projects, it's going to be hundreds and hundreds of lines long, what it allows you to do is break that down into your components here, your assemblies and sub-assemblies of your device. This is just a very generic example he has set up where there's a software aspect, electrical, disposable, and mechanical, and then he broke it up into software unit level and integration levels below that. So with this, it's fully customizable. You can set it up to your assemblies and sub-assemblies, but it allows you to jump straight to those software requirements. If I wanted to jump straight to those, I click on that, and now I'm looking at just my software requirements here and everything underneath that. So it just allows you to navigate better. Eventually, it's all still one matrix. So if you went back up to this system level and started scrolling, you'd
Mm,
eventually find everything, but the components allow you to break it up into those more manageable subsections.
nice.
And when you start creating your design reviews and signing these
Mm-hmm.
off, you'll be able to decide with this review, what am I reviewing? Am I just reviewing, this particular software unit, or am I doing a full phase review and maybe reviewing all of my user needs
Nice.
here? So you'll select what components, and then you'll select what design control items. So maybe it's that phase 0 or phase 1 where you're doing your user needs. Maybe it's the next phase where you're doing your design outputs, or just a specific set of software unit design outputs that you're testing, whatever it is, you can select that, and it will auto generate a design review record here for you. So you'll give that record a title and description, talk about what you're reviewing there. And one of the neat things is that you can pull in those related documents here. So as we were talking about that wireframe diagram that I clicked on with the design outputs, if we were reviewing that, we could pull that in, the protocols and reports that are a part of our verifications. If we were reviewing those will get pulled in and appended onto this design review artifact. So we would know at this moment in time, we were looking
All the
at
things. Yeah.
version X of this product. So that you can pull those in. And then of course you can attach your risk assessment, make sure you're reviewing risk, those risk deliverables as a part of this review as well. We'll get into risk here in just a second, but rather than creating a new one, I'll actually just show you guys what a page is going to look like when you create a design review here. So when you create that review, it's going to show up in your design review list. This one was one that looks like Barrett just got signed off really quickly here, but you'll want to make sure you have the appropriate approvals on this design review. So you'll be able to do that electronic signature process on this design review. And with that, here's the document. This is what it's going to look like. That is auto-compiled for you once it loads here. So you can see from the table of contents any of your design review related items. So that's going to be, meeting minutes, anything like that that you want to pull in. It's going to list out your design controls listed by component. You're going to have your full traceability matrix shown and your risk assessment. So I can just scroll really quick through here. My internet's being slow, so it's not showing the scrolling very well. But you can see there's listed out our design control items that we're reviewing. It said it was our initial review. It's going to highlight what we reviewed here, and then it's going to go into risk as well. And of course, he didn't attach the related documents onto his, but those would be appended on to the end of it as well. So as you go through and you're approving your design reviews, that's what's going to build out your design history file within your project here. So that design history file is auto-compiled, and you'll get that approved at the end of the project. As you're going through, one last note on design reviews, as you're going through and you approve things with design reviews, they will get little green check marks on here. So just another visual indicator to show you this has been approved through a design review. So then with that, that's really it with design controls, kind of at a high level here. Jump into risk next and show you what that's going to look like and how we tie that into the design controls, because that's one of the most important
two
aspects.
quick questions. One question I have, and that's around some people want to be able to build their product strategy where they have accessories that are going to support numerous top-level products. So they're going to have maybe a DHF or a certain accessory. How do they handle that? How do you handle that in Greenlight when maybe there's a product family and certain accessories would report into one, maybe not another one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. So the way it looks, since that accessory would have its own DHF, it would actually be its own project. That way it has its own separate design history file. And then within each of the devices that use that accessory, I would have requirements within there that would say this product has to be compatible with this accessory. And then same thing on the accessory side, you would want to make sure it has a requirement that this has to be compatible with this.
And then
so that's how.
And then is there a part of your visualize where you can like link in those places?
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like we're teasing this visualize too much. I just
that was not that was totally me just working it out. That was not a basic question. We do have one other question: is that can the DHF be updated through change control?
DHF can be updated through change control. So the DHF is updated in its own kind of workspace here. So this is where you're going to get the DHF signed off. A lot of times, and I think this might be getting into the weeds a little bit too much here, but when you're changing things within your design, say you completed your design, you signed off on your design history file, and then you wanted to change things about your design, likely you're going to have some documents that are changing as a part of that, a drawing or a manufacturing work instruction, something like that. And that document will go through a change order. And so that will be part of the change management workflow.
Kind of like that decision that you were
document
before,
is also,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And so that document will go through a change order. That document would likely then be pulled into a design output of some sort. So you would have to update that design output to link that new version of that document in there. And with that, you would want to do a design review. And that design review would pull in that new version And then after you've completed that design review, you can sign off on the next version of your DHF then to say we're releasing this, we did our change order, we did our design review, and now we're releasing the next version of our DHF. So that's how it all looks, and it all ties together through those related items. So it's all interconnected. So you'll be able to look at that design review and see, okay, well, we had a change order for this one. You'll be able to go to that change order and see what version of the document and see what verification testing you ran. So it's all interconnected, and you'll be able to see all of that. So yeah, fantastic question though. I wish I could dive into that even more. I love talking about that. That's one of my favorite things to go through with customers. But
Jeff
we
may
will
be
jump
calling
over
you
to
then.
risk. Make sure we nice. So yeah, before we jump into the actual risk matrix here, and I do want to be cognizant of time here, make sure we hit these other workspaces and touch on visualize. But really quick here from the design control side, you'll be able to see with this little hazard icon which harms this design control is mitigating. So you'll be able to see the link from the design control side, but that link is actually created in risk to take that risk-based approach to design here. So what you'll do, you can see with the column headers along the top as this loads in, that we are aligned to ISO 14971. So you'll add in your hazards, foreseeable events, hazardous situations, and harms, talk about what could go wrong with your device, and eventually what harm could that lead to the patient or operator. Within your harms, you'll assess your risk level here, that initial risk level, decide that probability and severity. And these are fully customizable, these drop downs, based off of the risk acceptability matrix that you set up at the beginning of the project here. So this is fully customizable. You can decide the probability, titles, and definitions, severity, titles, and definitions. And then you can change any of these levels to low, medium, or high. You can decide what requires a benefit risk analysis for a risk that's been mitigated and needs to be accepted there for all of that. And then what I like about this, it becomes a neat little project management tool too, where you can see how many of your harms are falling in these different areas. And then as well, what level of assessment have you done on it yet? So you can see these two, harm 11 and harm 22, the assessment is incomplete because they have a gray ring around them versus some of these other ones have been accepted with design controls or a benefit risk analysis. So then back to our harms here, once we've assessed that initial risk level, we're going to go to our sources and controls. And this is where we're going to link back to our design controls in our traceability matrix to say, here's how we're mitigating this risk from occurring. So we're going to identify the requirements that we put in place to make sure this doesn't occur. We're going to identify the design that is mitigating this, and we're going to identify the verification testing we ran to verify that this was an effective mitigation. From there, you'll assess your residual risk level now that you have put the proper mitigations in, and Greenlight will auto-generate your risk file for you here. So this is probably what most of you are used to seeing with your risk file, where you have your, I'll zoom in a little bit more, you have your hazards through harms, and then your initial probability and initial probability, severity, initial risk level here, your mitigations, and then your residual risk level here. So it will compile this for you. This is what you'd show an auditor, include in your regulatory submissions. Just print this out and there it is. So that is risk management. Did we have any questions pop in with risk? Otherwise I can, oh, I think you're on mute there, Nicolle.
I said, no questions. I think everyone's a little speechless right now, just taking it all in. I love the project management visual too, like to be able to have that dashboard pop up so you can just, make sure that you're getting it done versus again going through that spreadsheet right all the time.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that too. Awesome. So to keep moving along here, I'll just talk about these workspaces
Okay,
at
we
a
have
high level, and then we'll just jump into
risk
one of
question
them.
now.
They're very
Coming to the
similar.
table before we go. How do you
Oh,
handle risks that don't
perfect.
trace
Yeah.
to harm?
Yeah. Risks that don't trace to harm.
Customers
So
annoyed
that
as an
is
example.
interesting. I would think I might need Okay, okay. Um, so that wouldn't be something I think, unless you can come up with some harm from it, like if they're annoyed and
Mm-hmm.
then they're not able to use the product and therefore they have delayed treatment, that would be a
Mm-hmm.
harm, very, very minor in that case. So likely you can bring it to some type of harm, but that is what 14971 is focused on. And that's what the FDA or any regulatory body is going to be focused on when they're looking at your risk matrix, is they're
Mm-hmm.
going to want to see what are those harms that could come from your device. And then they take that backwards and say, how are you preventing this from happening? How can this happen? And how are you preventing it? So yeah, that I think each use case you'll be able to walk through it and eventually come up with some
Mm-hmm.
harm for that. It might be very minor, but that is what they focus on within this matrix. Yeah. Great question, though. I think there's a lot. We used to have risk
Mm-hmm.
meetings that lasted hours
Oh my
upon
gosh.
hours, and we talk about
Yeah.
like one risk item for those hours. So
Yeah.
it
And
can
you really,
it can
and you,
definitely be a
it's really
process.
important to manage because you can, like, you can what if anything, and engineers love that, right? We love
Yeah,
finding, uh,
absolutely. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, it can be a lot. Um, so yeah, moving on
mhm,
to these four workspaces here. I'll talk about them high level, but we'll just click into one of them here. The reason for that is they're very similar. What they're going to do is they're going to walk you through those processes as aligned to the regulations. So we'll jump into CAPA here. And for example, it's going to
mhm,
walk you through immediate actions you have to take, and then an investigation you'll do, a root cause analysis, and then the actions that you're taking to address those root causes, and then it's going to generate a CAPA report for you. And at the end, you'll do verifications to verify that those actions were effective. So that's what all of these workspaces are going to do. They're going to walk you through the process according to the regulations, auto generate that report for you at the end. So that nonconformance report, that complaint report, auto generate that for you at the end. And you'll be able to link all of this that you're doing within here to these other workspaces. So if the complaint is about a certain design control, you can link it to that and identify that. If the audit identifies a certain document that needs updated, you'll be able to identify that. If there's any changes that come from a nonconformance or a CAPA, you'll be able to identify those and link that all together. So that's really where these workspaces come into play. I'll show you one here. I'll just go
yeah,
into Kappa. I think
absolutely.
everybody loves Kappas, so we'll go through that. Um, so with this here, you can see this is our list of open Kappas. You can of course look at the completed ones and those that have been requested. And then with this, you can see some additional information about this Kappa. What stage is it at? How long it's been open?
Hmm.
Clearly, we need to do a better job here. The due date, stuff like that. With this, I'll just hop into one that I set up a while back here. And you'll set up this information when you first create the kappa over here on the left side. And then what you're going to do is you're going to walk through these stages along the top. It's going to auto generate a quality review report, a kappa report essentially at the end for you. And then you'll do verification. So we'll walk through each of these stages relatively quickly here just to be cognizant of time. And first thing here, source. So this is where you're going to identify what led to this kappa. Did we have a complaint that led to this kappa? Was there an audit that led to this kappa? So
Hmm.
tying the different aspects of your QMS together here in Greenlight, or nonconformances, where there are 10 different nonconformances that led to this kappa. Whatever it was, you'll be able to tie that in, as well as link in any products that this kappa is
Hmm.
for, or different projects, design inputs, risks that this project or this kappa is addressing. You'll be able to link any of those items in to really have that full post-market connectivity, traceability within your system. First thing you'll do then action-wise is these immediate actions. This is identifying things that you want done right away. So maybe you need to, communicate something to customer service. Maybe you need to assess whether a recall is necessary. You need to, something as simple as set up our kappa team, dispose certain product, whatever it is, the things that you want to do right away. That is what you can identify here in the task and the immediate action. And with all of these tasks, you don't have to worry about doing it yourself. You'll be able to assign these to other people. You can give them a due date and reminder. Yeah, it's amazing how many
Right.
people are used to doing these things, so much of it themselves. And this allows you, you can assign it to certain people, you can assign it to a role, say, I really don't care, as long as
Right.
it's someone with a manufacturing engineering role, someone needs to take this. So either way, and they'll be able to come in, change the status to complete when they've completed it, and then you can complete the stage, and that's how you'll move through the Kappa workspace here. Investigations, very similar. You'll set up those tasks of what needs to be investigated for this. As people investigate it, they'll be able to mark their findings within here. So, maybe I looked into the tooling and I found out that the tooling was out of spec actually, and that's why all these products were having non-conformances or something like that, just making something up here. But you'll identify your findings as you go through the investigations, complete these tests. Once you have those findings, then you'll want to address figure out what is the root cause of that finding. Why did our tooling get out of spec and no one noticed it? Why was the mechanical enclosure not tested for all battery types? You'll want to dive into the root cause here, figure out what that root cause was, identify the reason you did it, the method. You can link it to those findings saying this root cause was for this finding. We did another root cause analysis. There was a different finding as a part of this kappa. And then after you have those root causes identified, you'll take action on those. So corrective and preventive action within here, make sure you're correcting anything, as well as setting up those actions to prevent it from happening or something similar from happening again. Based off of all of that information you've put into all of those stages, it auto compiles your kappa report for you. And I'll just really briefly show you this. It's nothing too exciting. I'll just show you the table of contents so you can see what's all included. You can see here that all of those stages that we were talking about, they all get pulled in, and you'll be able to see all that information
Now
that we put into
I
each
have
of
a
those
quick,
within
and this
here.
is kind
So
of
that's what that
a
kappa report's
GLG,
going.
like
But
a
yeah, go ahead.
bigger question is the chat function. And Kappa's a good example where you might want to like ask somebody something and
Oh yeah.
um, how does it work? How if I wanted to talk to somebody about this Kappa?
Yeah. Yeah, great. That is a fantastic question. This is a really neat feature. So with these comments, you'll make comments and they're context aware. So if I make a comment over here on the sidebar while viewing this kappa, and oh, sorry, my internet is saying connection lost here. I have bad internet. I'll just refresh it here. Yeah, with this kappa, if I make a comment while viewing this kappa here, I'll only see this comment when I come back and open up the comment section on this kappa. So these are context aware. If I make a comment on this side panel when viewing a document, I'll only see that comment when I open up the side panel viewing
And do
that
they
document again. So the
like
comments are going to be
do they
different for
email the
each thing.
person
And
or?
with these comments, yeah, yep, exactly. So you can mention people here. And so I could do the symbol, type in someone's name, and it will send him an email notification and say, maybe Tom, he's, I need to tell him, finish the root cause or something like that, finish root cause analysis. And when I
To
post
come
that,
in.
he's going to
Oh,
get an email
awesome. Oh, okay.
notification, and it's going to have a direct link to this kappa. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great point. I really like that feature, and I wasn't going to mention it, so I'm glad you asked about it. Yeah, with this kappa report that's auto-generated, you'll set up the routing list here again, sequential parallel, what role people are signing off as, get that approved, and we don't let you
Nice.
forget about the verification because it is in the regulation. So you'll create verification tasks where you will come in, talk about verifying those actions, and then once you actually have done that verification, you'll be able to mark whether it was an effective action or not. And
Nice.
it will auto-generate the verification report for you as well. That doesn't get signed off, but it does auto-generate that for you, so you have that record. So yeah, these other workspaces, very similar to that. I can just like click into customer feedback here for you really quick, go into that same example I had that led to that kappa here. You can see across the top, it's going to be very similar. What you do in each of these stages is of course going to be different. If you get a complaint, things like regulatory reporting that you have to do for complaints, different things like that. You'll do different things in these stages, but it's all set up the same way to make it really easy for everyone to know how to work in the system. Last thing then, just because we only have 6 minutes left, I do want to show you
Yeah.
Visualize
And everyone
and
feel free to drop
that
questions.
Halo, the
We're kind of
intelligent
going into
document
our question time,
management. So
but since it's been
going
live, it's
back,
great. So I just want to get the most for you guys.
yeah, absolutely. Yes, drop as many questions. Yes, thank you. And thank you for the questions throughout too. Those have all been great. So jumping into the circuit board here then, when I open up this Visualize tool, and you can open up this Visualize tool from any design control item, any document, any kappa, whatever, wherever you're at in Greenlight, you can open it up and see what is connected to this item that you're looking at. So if I open up Visualize from the circuit board here, I'll be able to see everything that's connected to it. So I have a mechanical enclosure here that I link to it, an LCD screen that I link to it, as well as I can see what design outputs it's been pulled into. So what projects has it been linked as a related item? I can see that I had a customer feedback. I had a complaint about this circuit board. You can see that it's a part of a change order. So anything and everything in your system, as you are linking things together, as you're working in your system, it's auto compiling this visualization tool so that you can come in here and assess, if I change this circuit board, what's going to be impacted by that. So of course I see these documents here, I should probably look at those and make sure I'm addressing those. But also I can dive into any of these items and see, okay, well, this circuit board is, linked to this design output here. What is going to be impacted by it if I change this circuit board? I can see that this design output is meeting a couple of inputs here. So maybe I need to rerun verification testing on these. Maybe I need to do EMC testing again if I change this circuit board. Or I see here that there's a harm that this design output is mitigating. So I probably need to take risk into account when I'm updating this circuit board, make sure I'm still mitigating it and I'm not producing any additional harms. So it can be really impactful, really take a proactive approach to your changes with Visualize to understand how
Yeah,
everything's
it really
connected
opens
and
up
know
for
what could be
the whole
impacted
organization
by that
too. Meaning,
change.
like it's not tribal knowledge anymore that somebody remembers these linkages. Like, I mean, again, it's only as good as the linking, but when you
Yeah.
do it, it's just so beneficial for the organization.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to make sure somebody learn.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of this linking, yeah, exactly. And a lot of this linking is kind of done naturally. So it's, when you're creating a customer feedback, a complaint there, you're linking in the sources for it. So you're just doing that naturally. Or when you have a design output, you want to link those records to it to pull them into the project. So that's done naturally in change
Yeah.
order. So a lot of this
We have
linking is kind
one.
of just built out as
Oh, go
you're
ahead.
working
Well,
in
we have a question,
eQMS.
and it's kind of about the
One
quality,
other,
like the roll
oh,
up into a
yeah, go ahead.
dashboard and the
Oh,
analytics. And is there a way to see kind of overarching how the organization is doing on a quality level? Like, does this roll up?
Yeah. So I didn't jump into the analytics section, but we do have the analytics here where you'll be able to see for your change orders, how many change orders have we had broken out by impact or priority, how long it's taking people to review those change orders, average time it takes to close them each month, different things like that. You'll be able to, decide your
Okay.
own custom date range. And you'll have that for all these other workspaces as well. So how many audits have you been doing? How many kappas have you had? And what are the root causes of those kappas? What are the sources of those kappas? And so you'll have that for
Yeah.
all of these different workspaces. And that gives you a much more idea of how healthy your company is. And a lot of
Yeah.
people will use this information for their management review meetings. Yeah, great question.
The Halo.
Awesome. I'm going to go back really quick to that example here that we had with that circuit board. Yeah. So with that, so now we talked about, and I want to do one more thing with the visualize here. So with this, you have these solid line links that you can see throughout here, but we also added in natural language processing and machine learning to automatically recognize if you've mentioned the title of one document within another, and it will auto create that link for you, and it'll be this dotted line link. So you can see here, I've mentioned my circuit board document within this Fab 08
Nice.
document, and I've
That's
mentioned the
huge.
Fab 08 document within my circuit board.
Yeah.
it's auto creating that link for me. So I didn't even have to
Right.
create that. Yeah, so it's kind of like that where used functionality. So going back to this circuit board then, I'm going to jump into that change order we were at before. Now that we understand the full connectivity of the system, what we did then is we brought it into your change order so that when you're going through a change order, it's actually going to list out for you, here's some ideas of things that you should consider changing based off of all the understanding. You should consider changing, this drawing here, this mechanical enclosure, that Fab 08 document. Remember, that was that dotted line link. It's going to put that right in front of you and say, hey, we think you should consider adding this. You can come through each of these and decide, yep, I want to add it to the change. Or you can say, nah, this one's not impacted. Here's the reason why. And that will all be recorded for you. So it really just helps you make sure you're really understanding the impact and
that's great.
Considering all the documents that may be impacted by this change. Awesome. So I know I took us to the end, but I do have some time to run over a little bit if we have any questions.
If you have to jump,
okay
it'll be recorded. I don't have any other questions popping through. It looks like we've addressed most of them. It looks like people are starting to jump off, so
yeah,
probably good to wrap up. They run to eat their lunch.
Yeah, I will stop sharing.
I know. That's all I can take.
Exactly. Enough quality system talk.
And if you have additional questions, you can contact us directly, and we'll connect you with Wade if it's for Wade. Or do you want to drop an email in the chat for people? We can.
Trying to think of what the best email would be for us. I believe.
Okay, and
let me test
and make
one
sure it goes
thing really
directly
quick.
to that.
But you can finish it up. I'll drop it in the chat.
That one individual who's looking for that, and we could reach out if the connection doesn't work out. We'll reach out and make sure you guys get connected. So I just want to thank everybody again. We're going to continue to do these series. We do it to just help create a safe space so you guys can learn. We have a couple of tidbits up on our website. Love for you to go check it out. We have a complimentary eQMS graphic for the year, and then we've started a compliance essentials program for startup companies that just need a foundation to get going with good habits until they are ready to get into the next part of the system. Kind of like Greenlight does, where they have the first three areas of design control, doc control, where you need to practice while you're in feasibility. And on that note, we'll end it. And Wade just dropped a link to help. If you can't see it, let me know. You should be able to see it. And we can send it out. You can always reach us at quality@cannonqg.com.